This is the 2024 Honda CR-V EXL. Is there anything missing? Hey everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. I hope you're having a great day. And today we're at Holmes Honda to give you the information, hitting the high points in a pretty in-depth tour of this model. And I say pretty in-depth or fairly in-depth because I'm not going to give you everything down to the head bolt specs or torque specs. Because number one, a lot of people don't even know what that means, and it doesn't really matter because, well, you don't have to deal with that unless you work for a Honda dealership in the service department. Then you already likely know what those numbers are. But all kidding aside, we're going to show you the high points of what you can expect here, and you can tell me down in the comments what you think might be missing, if anything at all. It's going to vary from one person to another. The exterior color on this model is going to be urban gray pearl. It has a black interior, and if you see a flickering effect, kind of like what you see with the headlights and the turn signals right there, that has to do with my camera. It's not really happening. Speaking of lighting, the headlights and the daytime running lights are going to be LED. Now, you won't find fog lights regardless of trim level. Tell me what your thoughts are on that. But depending on how your model is optioned or how you may spec it out if you order it online or even at the dealership, you can go front wheel drive, which is the case with this model, or you can go all wheel drive. So doesn't matter the trim level, those are your options. And how about your tire and wheel size? 235 on the width, you'll have a 60 series sidewall wrapped around the 18-inch wheels. And if you do choose to go with a non-hybrid CR-V, then you're going to find a spare tire within the interior. That's a good thing. Here is your remote, lock, unlock, remote start. You can open the rear door right here with that button, and you have your panic button. And besides a lot of airbags within the interior, there are safety features such as Honda Sensing driving aids. That's going to include adaptive cruise control, collision mitigation, braking, lane keeping assist, road departure mitigation, and traffic jam assist. And another great safety feature here is going to be found within these side view mirrors right here. That's going to be your blind spot monitoring or blind spot information system. You have the manually folding side view mirrors. They do fold in two different directions. They're power adjustable, they're heated, and they have the turn signal indicators built in. By the way, that remote that I showed you earlier is a proximity key. You do have the walk-away feature. And on this model, which is nothing unusual, it's on all models, you're going to have what's called the tailgate spoiler. At least that's what Honda calls it. I often call that a rear roof spoiler. I guess that's okay, but it's a tailgate spoiler according to Honda. We finish things off here with a clean look on the rear, highlighted by the LED tail lights. Now, if you're saying to yourself, what's under the hood? It's not hybrid. What can I expect to find? Let's talk about that. For those who say, I want to be minimal on batteries, well, that's the good thing about this particular model. That's your battery. You don't have to worry about dealing with additions that you would find with the hybrid powertrain. This model will come with a turbocharged 1.5 liter four-cylinder. It makes 190 horsepower. The torque numbers come in at 179. It is mated to a CVT, and I know a lot of people will say, you lost me at CVT. Well, drive it before you make a decision on that. I know a lot of the time CVTs can be rather obnoxious and not very popular transmission style, but this one seems to do pretty well in these Honda CR-Vs. And how about the MPGs? I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but somehow it did. 28 city, 34 highway, 30 combined, and 3.3 gallons of gas per every 100 miles driven. You do have capless fuel fill. When the interior is locked, this gas door will lock, and you have a 14-gallon gas tank. And if you happen to be wondering about some of the differences between the non-hybrid version of the CR-V and the hybrid version, well, one is going to be found in towing. If you go hybrid, you can tow up to 1,000 pounds. If you go non-hybrid, you can tow up to 1,500 pounds, which is what we have here. And you will also find some differences within the interior when it comes to your ability to haul cargo. 36.6 up to 76.5 cubic feet is what you will find with the hybrid version, but you have a little bit more cargo space here at 39.3 up to 76.5 cubic feet. And that's because you can change the positioning of the floor. You can have it down here or you can have it up here. There are a couple of options where that is concerned. And as I mentioned earlier, just so you can see it in case you didn't believe me, yes, there is a spare tire. And I heard those two questions. The first question was, Tom, show us what it looks like with maximized cargo space within the interior of the CR-V. So I folded the rear seats flat. Also, why don't you change the position of the floor so we can see what that looks like? So here is your option right here, one of two options. In fact, I'll go ahead and drop that so you can see the two options that you have. You also have some space behind the fender wells on each side as far as additional space goes. You have the hangers right here for bags, grocery bags, whatever anybody wants to use those for. 12-volt power outlet, and you'll also find your rear area cargo lighting. If you want to change the position of this rear tailgate, well, all you have to do is move it to wherever you want it to be and hold the button down until you hear the beeps. And when you open that back up, it's going to go to the height where you set it. And we'll take a look into the back seat and see what your back seat passengers are going to find. The armrest is comfortable, at least putting my arm up there for a few seconds. I don't know what it would be like in the long term. Somebody might be able to tell us down in the comments section. And I think Honda has done a good job of using the gloss black, or what some call the piano black finish, with the trim right here, because this is an area that's not likely to get a lot of fingerprinting. People may grab the door handle right here, but usually their fingers aren't going to go down into that area. You will find the bottle holder slash door bin, if you want to call it that, down here. Bottle holder here, a little bit of space in the rear. So a couple of different options where that's concerned. And one thing I know a lot of people like to know has to do with how much the rear seats recline. So you can see that from this vantage point. In fact, let's do it like this so you can see it a little bit better. I should have done that from the driver's side door instead of the passenger side, but you can see that. For the parents out there with child seats, child safety seats, you have the latch system here. They're just exposed. You don't have any plastic pieces to move out of the way or to take off to keep up with. I think that's beneficial. We'll also find the singular rear seat pocket here, not one over there on the driver's side. Not really sure why that is. Not sure that that's an issue or not. Tell me what you think. You will find rear air conditioning vents and a couple of USB ports right there. There is a conventional size sunroof here that does tilt and slide open. And last but not least, in the rear seat area, something I like here is the design of the fold-down armrest with the cup holders built in because of the layout. Typically, the cup holders would be right here. When there are cups or bottles in the cup holders, when they're in the more traditional position that so many automakers use, well, you can't really use this area, at least your rear seat passengers, as an armrest. But with the way Honda has this designed, you can. I wonder why we don't see that in more vehicles. And for those of you who are saying, one thing I'm hoping is missing is a really high price. So tell me what you think. $36,495 for this particular model at Holmes Honda. Let's see what else you get for the price beyond what I've already shown you. A little more space with the armrest, but it's going to feel the same as the rear as far as its comfort level goes. It seems to be acceptable, at least, like I said, putting my arm up there for a few seconds. A larger door bin. Nothing unusual again here. We'll find that on a lot of vehicles with the front doors because you have a larger door, or wider, we'll say. And the same basic look and design with the trim. And power seats for the driver and the passenger here on the EXL trim level. Both are heated. We'll hop into the interior and find that once again we have some consistency with the piano black or gloss black finish, whichever you wish to call that, going across the dash. Not everywhere, but in a few different areas. We'll also find plentiful space within the glove box area right here. More connectivity options. Number one, you have the second of two 12-volt power outlets, USB-A and USB-C ports right there, wireless charging, and a conventional style shifter. A lot of people tell me they don't like push button shifters that would normally be in this area on some Honda models. So if you're looking for the traditional style shifter that you can just wrap your hand around, that's going to be here. That will be a benefit for you. Drive mode selector, hill start assist, hill start assist here. You also have your auto stop start feature that you can turn off right there, or leave it on if you so desire. You also will find your power parking brake, brake hold mode as well, and then the cup holders, a little bit of space in front of the center console. And the center console is wide enough, the lid, to use as an armrest. Plenty of space within as well. And the tray right here is not only removable, but it can be moved into another position or left out altogether, depending on what you want to do. We'll also find the sunglass holder right here. Let's open that up. How many of you would like to see a conversation mirror right here, as we see in some Honda models these days? And right here, you'll find the control for your sunroof. I told you that does tilt and slide open, and you can see some of the other features that are here on your upper console. And here from the driver's seat, you'll have all of your typical features and functionality you expect to find. As far as your controls for the windows, the side view mirrors, you will have a couple of different settings for seat memory. That might be a little bit of a surprise to some people. And then you can turn your traction control on and off right here. You can also open the power tailgate back there. The lever right here drops down to adjust the tilt and telescopically adjustable steering wheel, or to allow you to adjust that, I should say. I made it sound almost like that lever just does everything for you. Wouldn't want somebody sitting there with the lever down saying, well, Tom said that it would work if I just dropped the lever. And that isn't true. All kidding aside, let's take a look at what we have here with the dashboard area. Very nice look, modern looking instrument cluster, easy to deal with. There's not a lot going on here, but enough to definitely take care of everything. And you can go in and make some changes depending on what you want to do and what you want to see. So that's pretty easy to deal with. We'll also find our steering wheel mounted controls right here on the right hand or left hand side of the steering wheel, I should say. You're going to find your controls for your headlights and those blinky things on the outside of the vehicle that some of you like to save for the next owner because you never use them. And then you also have your control. This really is on the right-hand side of the steering wheel. Hey, just forgive me. It's early in the morning. My brain still isn't working at full capacity. That may happen later in the day, too. You never know. But the control for your front and rear window wipers. And as far as your infotainment screen goes, the 9-inch touchscreen, a nice look. Some people say it's too small. I'm always curious to know what people think the minimum size should be for a touchscreen. But a nice modern look here as well. Wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto compatibility. When you need to go in and make changes to the vehicle, as far as your vehicle settings go, it's easy to know what you need to go to because of the graphics right here that Honda has given you. Very easy to deal with. Multi-view rear view camera. Now, one thing you won't find on any trim level of the CR-V, whether it's hybrid or non-hybrid, EXL, anything, is all of the different camera views that you can have on the Pilot, on the Trail Sport and Elite trim levels. Would you like to see Honda make that available on these CR-Vs? Some people might not. Obviously, well, there would be a price increase associated with that, so it's something to keep in mind. Dual zone climate control. You can see that I have the heated seat turned on right there. Heated seats for the driver and the passenger. You can sync both sides together or operate them independently. And you know what else is here. Now, one thing I do want to show are driving modes. Let's go through those. So we start off with normal, then you go into econ, and then you go into snow. Now, you might wonder about sport mode. You notice it's not there. Well, you actually would go into sport mode if you were going to use that down here with the shifter. So you're going to have your drive, D for drive, the S is for sport, and L, that's going to be low. What that means is that you can drive the vehicle in low gear and it's still going to give you all of the available horsepower from the engine. And with the center console right here, quite a bit of space within that area. Remove that little tray right there if you want to increase that space. You can leave it out if you want to, or you can have trouble putting it in there like I'm having right now, and you can also put it in the rear slot right there. And as we get out on the road for the test drive, one thing I can say definitively here, if you're looking for a smooth, comfortable ride quality, the CR-V will definitely give you that without any problems whatsoever, at least based on the road surfaces I've driven on to this point. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of options where that's concerned, but based on what I have experienced here driving on what I have, not only is the suspension and the shock balance nice in that it provides a good, comfortable ride quality, the seats seem to be comfortable as well. And I think they would be comfortable on a long road trip. Obviously, most people are going to be stopping every 3 or 4 hours, or maybe a little bit less than that, depending. I think you'd find these are going to be comfortable in that case as well, even if you are sitting in them for a reasonable amount of time. You also have a lot of cargo space that will help out in situations of road trips and, well, trips to the grocery store, whatever you might be doing as well. So there's a lot of advantages to the overall size of the CR-V. For a two-row SUV, I think you definitely have a good bit of space, especially for a crossover SUV like this. And earlier in the video, I showed you the technology that's available here. You can see that I paired my smartphone to the infotainment screen. And as I mentioned earlier, you can do that wirelessly. For those of you who may have skipped to this point in the video and don't know about that, well, now you do. And if you're wondering about the position of the camera, I've had a couple of requests for POV test drives. The reason I don't actually attach the camera to my head with the head mount is because it's just so difficult to have a good, consistent view that way. No matter how hard I try, it's just jerky because I have to move my head, I have to look around. I don't really have a choice in that matter, so I really don't prefer to do that. I know some people might say, well, I don't mind, and some people might. Personally, I really don't like the way that looks. So this is the best I can do. Tell me what you think. Some of you have asked about that. Some of you might say, you know, maybe you should just go ahead and put the camera back over in the conventional spot that you normally do when you have a sunroof. So tell me what your thoughts are. And what about accelerating up to speed when you need to get up to highway speed, or maybe drive around slower moving traffic when it's safe to do so on a 2-lane road? You shouldn't have trouble with that as far as the CR-V goes. It seems to do a really nice job of accelerating. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, you have a situation where, in fact, we're going to test that right now because this Chevrolet in front of us is driving under the speed limit a little bit. So we're going to move on up here and get around them. No problem to do that. And I didn't hardly move the gas pedal. That's a good thing. So I moved maybe to quarter throttle, if that much. It wasn't much. But just an overall enjoyable driving experience. When you need to go, it will go. The gas pedal is responsive to the touch of your foot. At least it seems that way for me. And the brake pedal seems to be easily manageable as well. So that's always a good thing, to have that nice balance so that you're not brake shaking your passengers. Some of that's going to vary a little bit depending on what you're used to. At one point, I was driving around in a 2017 Ford Escape that had fairly aggressive braking. Part of that was being a very light vehicle. And so it was very interesting to go from one vehicle to another and to be able to adjust quickly to the braking because it was so aggressive there. So that's the way it goes sometimes. It depends on what you're used to. That's one of the reasons why I like to make the point that I can share with you what my driving experience is like here in these test drives, but you really need to drive these vehicles for yourself, because depending on what you're coming from or what you're used to, you might say, well, Tom, you made it sound like the ride quality was pretty good, but I think it's butter smooth. Or you might go the opposite direction with that and say, yeah, it's not as smooth as you made it sound. It just depends on your experience. Okay, tell me what you think about the 2024 Honda CR-V EXL. Is there anything missing? Tell me down in the comments section what your thoughts are. I would like to say a special thanks to my friends at Holmes Honda for loaning me this CR-V for the day, and a special thanks to each and every one of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. That helps me out a lot. If you haven't subscribed just yet, please be sure to do so. That way you don't miss any future videos. And if you would like to learn about additional vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I will see you there.